All right, Salakia had a phone call. I'm gonna have to call my mom back. Like I said, I got try to do this video. But yeah, nonetheless, man. All right. That's why, like I was saying, that's why majority of our children are quote unquote autistic, on the spectrum, you know, having learning disabilities, so on and so forth. So let's keep going. Okay, that was it. So I'm gonna play majority of this video because, like I said, the elder is gonna go mostly into what needs to be said. But that was just the intro part on my behalf, dealing with the response. Because at the end of the day, man, this devil has to go, man. He has to fucking go. It's another precept I had. It's Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. All right. And at the end of the day, the people are mourning, man. All right. They may not say it. All right. They may not. Well, shit. Not in today's time. And, now it's a lot more people are being fed up of what's going on in the world today. But they don't have answers. They don't have solutions. All they have is, I hope the government can get their shit together. I hope they can, wake up and realize how much the American people are suffering. And in all actuality, the higher ups, all right, the elites, they don't give no fucks about any of you. None of you American people. That's why everything is so bad in the world today. All right. Because whether the Lord doing it or the Lord putting the spirit upon these wicked people to do it, is still of the Lord. All right. Even prime example dealing with that earthquake in Venezuela. According to, Dabu 77, it's been clear. It's been a clear indicator that something from the heavens, like a little laser beam or something like that, came from the sky a few days before the earthquake happened. Lord will, I do a video on that because it's so much. Like the elder Paul Tahar say, you miss a day, you miss a lot. Hell, you miss a second, you miss a lot because there's so much shit going on in the world, man. So much shit. All right. But without further ado, I'm going to press play.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to you.
And this is fair use, fair use. Okay, so I'm going to just let it play throughout, and I'll be right back. Hold on.
Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit of the Rakak Wadash. How the USA became the global dumping ground for toxic, contaminated food. Okay? So you have the wicked banking elite. They're trying to unalive everybody at this point. They're not even hiding it anymore. All right? So let's get into it.
So this is why the United States of America is the global dumping ground of toxic food. Let me explain. As a food scientist, I own and run a multiple mass spec instrument laboratory. I'm the author of Food Forensics, which hit #1 science category on Amazon at one point. And so I know about the limits of contaminants in, let's say, the EU versus Canada versus Japan versus the United States and other countries as well. And so when you talk about common contaminants of food, such as heavy metals or glyphosate or other pesticides, or even dioxins and PCBs, which go together normally into animal-derived products and so on, milk, cheese, eggs, meat, that kind of thing. So it turns out that the most stringent standards are in the EU. and then Canada and Japan and even Taiwan, places like that. The, the lack of standards is what's found in the United States. So, for example, did you know that heavy metals, including mercury, that there is no legal limit under the FDA for heavy metals beyond, under 10 parts per million. 10 parts per million. So you could have 9 parts per million of lead, which is extremely toxic. I mean, that's insane. Or even mercury. You could have 5 parts per million mercury, which would cause absolute brain damage. And that is perfectly legal according to the FDA. Yeah, amazing, right? It's also perfectly legal under the USDA. And even worse, it's allowed under USDA organic. So when you go to the grocery store and you see an organic label, you might assume, well, this is clean. This has been certified clean by the USDA, by the federal government. Yeah, the same federal government that just granted total legal immunity to Bayer over glyphosate. You think they care about the cleanliness of your food? Are you?
Come on, man. All right. Even if we try to eat organic, so-called, all right, it's still impure. You know, Israel will eat their food defiled amongst the Gentiles, right? This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 4, right? Going straight to the point. Okay. Ezekiel 4 and 12, the point is in 13. And it reads, "And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt make it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight." All right. And they're literally making meat mixed with human feces. I remember Kill Gates, he was talking about that, you know, making burgers out of human dung, you know, and then you have this laboratory GMO created, you know, meat or whatnot. So there's no telling, all right, what's really in the food. Okay. But we know that it's defiled. Verse 13. "And the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, said, Even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread amongst the Gentiles, whether I will drive them." All right. So our bread, our food, our water, okay, would be defiled. Okay. And in this captivity, we're unable to keep our dietary laws, you know, our purity laws properly. Okay. Because we're in captivity. Okay. So like I said, this is truly hell that we're under right here, man. Everything that we consume on a daily basis is all defiled. It's tainted. All right. That's why the scriptures say, got to get that too. Micah 2 and how this is not your rest. Micah 2 and 10. And it reads, it says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted." Okay. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. So everything about America, Babylon the Great, is polluted. Okay. From the air, from the water, from the food, from the indoctrination that they put on the people, these philosophies. Okay. It's all polluted to bring you to destruction. All right. Let's go back.
Kidding me? In fact, there's no limit of glyphosate either in the food, even in organic. See, look, let me back up, because I know some of you don't believe me. Like, wait a second, what are you saying? There's no limit of glyphosate or lead or mercury under organic labeling? There's no limit? Yeah, not only is there no limit, there's not even any testing under organic. The USDA doesn't even test anything for metals. I mean, this is not part of the organic certification, is what I'm saying. I'm sure from time to time they probably test something, but they don't test foods that are labeled organic for any kind of compliance of low glyphosate or low metals or low lead or low mercury, anything like that. That is not a requirement, and it doesn't happen. So you can buy something that's off the shelf organic. It could have 10 parts per million lead in it. It could have, 1,000 parts per million of glyphosate on it, like organic wheat. It could. Even though the farmer isn't supposed to spray glyphosate on the wheat, because that's not allowed under organic farming. Nobody tests the wheat. USDA doesn't test it. The organic certifiers don't test it. The farmer doesn't test it. So who knows? Who knows?
Yes. So they all know what they're doing. All right. This is the wicked, man. You know, are you surprised? This is Psalm 36 and verse 4. Okay. They don't know how to be righteous, you know. Psalms 36 and 4. Let me pull this up real quick. All right. Psalms 36 and 4. And it reads, He devises mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. All right. They can't help it to be wicked. Okay. NLT, they lie awake at night hatching sinful plots. Their actions are never good. They make no attempt to turn from evil. See? So it's all about design. This is why we got to get the fuck out of here, man. You know?
You think that if a farmer could make extra money by drying the organic wheat faster by spraying glyphosate on the wheat, do you think that all farmers will do the right thing and operate with integrity and make less money and not spray glyphosate on it? Well, probably that's true with many farmers, maybe the majority of farmers, I would hope, because farmers tend to be good people overall, especially the small farmers. But the corporate farmers are probably going to say, who's going to know? Let's spray it with glyphosate. It'll dry faster. We can harvest it sooner. We can avoid the incoming rain. We won't have crop loss, etc. So they're going to spray it. Nobody's going to know. Except, well, we will know. I mean, my company will know. Because we do the lab testing for glyphosate meticulously across all of our raw materials that are agricultural, across all of our products, healthrangerstore.com, we test for glyphosate. We've done so for, over a decade. And we'll continue to do so. But does Whole Foods test for glyphosate? No. I mean, not. Maybe they spot check. I doubt it. But they certainly don't test all the products they sell. Not a chance. I mean, that's laughable. I mean, does your local grocery store test for glyphosate on the products they sell? No, of course they don't. They don't have that kind of extra money and bandwidth to test everything they sell for glyphosate. Are you kidding me? Or heavy metals or anything like that. So they're selling a product on their shelves that has the organic label on it, which is really, it's advertising that this is clean. At least that's the way I think most consumers understand that. They think that means it's clean. It doesn't mean that at all. What it actually means is that it was not tested for glyphosate. It was not tested for heavy metals. It was not tested for dioxins. It doesn't even have to be tested for certain types of microbiology or other contaminants. So we have a food supply in America that is a dumping ground for the world, because see, if there's a grower in Mexico or India or Turkey that's producing some kind of food, let's say it's like rice from India. If they test it themselves, which is rare, by the way. If they test it themselves, which is rare, by the way, if that test shows that their rice is too contaminated for the EU, because the EU has strict limits on things like arsenic and cadmium in rice, then they just dump it to the United States. Very simple. The U.S. is the food toilet of the world. It's the dumping ground.
God damn, man. This is crazy, babe. But this whole thing is based off of deception. That's all it is. So our scriptures say, never trust thy enemy. All right? This is why people are dying even more now. All right? You had those jabs. Okay? You got the toxic food, the chemtrails in the sky, the arsenic and fluoride in the water, GMO foods. Okay? So everywhere you turn, all right, you can't escape this thing, man. All right? This is why you got to watch what you eat. That's why I wanted to do this lesson, because It's literally, war on your health. Nowadays, you just can't eat anything. All right, you got to be very strategic how you eat. Okay, because like I said, these wicked banking elite, these Edomites, these devils. All right, they're trying to unalive everybody. They don't even care. They're not hiding it. All right, and it's just obvious at this point.
Anything that's heavily contaminated, these food producers around the world, they know the secret. Like, nobody will test it in the U.S. Not the retailer, not Amazon.com, not the grocery store, not the FDA, not the USDA, not the EPA. Nobody will test it. So they ship the food to the U.S. And then that gets bought by whatever supplement manufacturers or grocery stores or processed food makers, whatever, and it ends up in the gluten-free crackers made with rice with extra arsenic. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, let me grab something real quick. And Sirach 37. Okay, this is Sirach 37 or Ecclesiastes chapter 37 and verse 29. Okay, I'll start at 28. It says, "For all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything," right? "Be not insatiable in any dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats," right? "For excess of meats bringeth sickness, and satiety will turn into choler. By satiety have many perished, but he that taketh heed prolong his life," right? This is why you got to watch what you eat, watch your your meat protein consumption, especially where you're getting it from. If you can, I'm just putting this out there. If you can, try to get your protein from actual farm, from the source that don't do the antibiotics and the fucking, the jabs and the, all the madness that they're putting in the food right now. Okay, let me just pull this in the GNT. See what we get from Sirach 37. Because this whole society pursuing the Micah 2 and 10 as we read is just is one big snare trap. So this is Sirach 37. What verse was that again? That was verse 28 on down. This is in the GNT, Sirach 37 and verse 28. It says, "All food doesn't agree with everyone, and everyone doesn't like the same kinds of food. Don't feel that you just have to have all sorts of fancy food, and don't be a glutton over any food," right? And we live in a gluttonous society. All right, people will eat any and everything, and you wonder why these people are dying and they look the way they look. With all these different health complications and whatnot. If you eat too much, you'll get sick. If you do it all the time, you'll always have stomach trouble, right? Gut all messed up. It says, "Gluttony has been the death of many people. Avoid it and live longer," right? So yeah, a lot of problems that people have health-wise comes from this food that they consume. All right, and we'll get more into that in a minute here, right? But let's play a little bit more. Just wanted to put this out there, man. All right.
And then you wonder why the American people are the least healthy people in the world.
There you go.
With the worst rates of obesity and cancer and type 2 diabetes, etc. It's not just the fact that the food is heavily processed and nutrient depleted. It's because it's contaminated. By choice. In other words, there was a choice to send it to America because it's contaminated. Because it would be illegal to sell that food in Japan or even Canada. Those of you listening from Canada, I know you hate your government, and I don't blame you, but at least the one thing your government has is more strict limits on contaminants in food, Whereas in the United States, it's anything goes. Buyer beware. I mean, hey, in the U.S., they just granted total legal immunity to the glyphosate chemical companies. They can mass poison you with glyphosate, and you can't even sue anymore. Imagine that.
Yeah, I want to get into that too. All right, because that's wicked. All right, but everything that people consume here in America, people have no idea what the hell is in the food. That's how bad it's gotten. Right, and I'm going to come back to this point he made that you can't even sue these companies for poisoning you, right? But I want to read this first, right? On the right here. This is from the newstarget.com. It says the ultra processed food genocide. The ultra processed food genocide, how globalist corporations are poisoning humanity for profit and depopulation, right? They're not hiding it. Let's just go ahead and summarize it real quick. Okay. Bear with me. Let's see what we get out of it. All right. It's all for profit. It's all for depopulation. All right. To reduce the Earth's population. What was the goal? To from 7 billion to 500 million or something like that. Okay. Let's see what we got from it. Why is it not pulling up? Let's see, bear with me 1 second. Is it not going to pull up? I guess it's not going to pull up. We'll read a little bit, man. All right. It says ultra-processed foods linked to higher risk of heart disease and early death. See? It says a new consensus statement from the European Society of Cardiology published in the European Heart Journal on May 10, 2026, has linked high consumption of ultra-processed foods to increased risk of heart disease, atrial fibrillation, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular death. The report combines findings from all currently available research on UPFs and cardiovascular disease, according to a Science Daily report. Researchers stated that the growing evidence links high UPF intake to obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, and death related to cardiovascular conditions, man. This is all from the food, man, that people eat on a daily basis, right? Across Europe. All right, yeah, so that's the point there. Everything that we're listening to here. All right, now let's make the point about how, as he was saying, you can't even sue these companies for poisoning. Let me just play that again, right? That quick part. This is crazy. Crazy shit, man.
Contaminated. By choice. In other words, there was a choice to send it to America because it's contaminated. Because it would be illegal to sell that food in Japan or even Canada. Those of you listening from Canada, I know you hate your government, and I don't blame you, but at least the one thing your government has is more strict limits on contaminants in food, you know? Whereas in the United States, it's anything goes. Buyer beware. I mean, hey, in the U.S., they just granted total legal immunity to the glyphosate chemical companies. They can mass poison you with glyphosate, and you can't even sue anymore. Imagine that.
Right. That's Psalm, real quick. That's Psalm.
All right, so Salakia, Shalom. Call Layim La Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, double honor to the elders and apostles, great millstone. Peace and love and blessings to the elect. Till next time, Shalom.